Good morning and welcome to this webinar on the Peace Plus programme and higher education and research. On behalf of the Royal Irish Academy, I'm very pleased to welcome you all this morning. I'm Jerry McKenna, Senior Vice President of the Academy. Peace Plus and its predecessor programmes support the peaceful transition of communities in Northern Ireland and the border counties of the Irish Republic towards tolerance, understanding and prosperity. It also seeks to enable communities in border regions to overcome the difficulties of peripherality that they face. It is an invaluable form of targeted support which should have enduring outcomes. We need to make the best use of the programme and harness all our collaborative potential in doing so. We are, of course, hugely grateful to the European Commission for its continued support and interest in our region. This support is hugely important to us all. The aim of today's webinar is to highlight the Peace Plus programme and raise awareness of the opportunities it contains for higher education and research, and also how the sector can engage positively with the programme in order to further its aims. The Academy previously held a roundtable session to discuss this topic, and we are delighted to release a report outlining those discussions today. A link will be placed in the chat box and also sent around to you following this webinar. We hope that this webinar will raise awareness of the Peace Plus programme, and for people who don't get a chance to log in this morning, we will make the recording available on the Academy website and YouTube channel. Many thanks are owed to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, who have sponsored this work through the Communicating Europe initiative. Our first keynote address this morning will be given by the Minister for European Affairs, Thomas Byrne, and we're very grateful to the Minister for taking the time to be here. Our panelists will be Paul Hannigan from Letterkenny Institute of Technology, Slavomir Tokarski, Directorate General for Regional and Urban Policy at the European Commission, Sarah Jane Smith from Queen's University Belfast, and Duncan Morrow from Ulster University. We hope to have some time for questions and answers at the end, so please put your questions into the chat box as you think of them. Our first speaker is Minister Thomas Byrne. Thomas Byrne TB is Minister of State with responsibility for European EU affairs at the Department of the Taoiseach and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. He was appointed to this role in July 2020. He has been a TD for Meath East constituency since the 2016 general election. He is a Trinity College graduate and himself a solicitor by profession. Minister.
Thanks very much, and thanks for the invite. And first, I'd like to thank the Royal Irish Academy for inviting me as part of the Communicating Europe initiative the Department, as you say, sponsored. But also to thank the Royal Irish Academy and its members and academia generally for the work that's done in promoting science, in promoting academic excellence, in promoting research, in promoting public policy discussion. And as I said, we've particularly seen that, I think, over the last year, and I think it's more important than ever that the Academy is seen in the public square and that research and new ideas and new thinking are brought to public attention. And I was pleased to see, I don't know whether it's I'm getting older or hanging out in good company, but I know a few of your members that you appointed that were elected last week to the Academy, including my old law lecturer, Gerard Hogan, and my old colleague in the Shannon, when I was in the Shannon, John Crown. But I think it's really great to see people like Philip Nolan and Deirdre Curtin as well, and that broad range of expertise that the Academy brings to the Irish public sphere. So the Communicating Europe initiative is a grant scheme managed by the Department of Foreign Affairs. It's aimed at deepening public awareness of the role of the European Union on daily life in Ireland, as well as our place in the Union. Over the past few years, funding to the scheme has been made available to a wide range of organisations, including a number of researchers and higher education institutions who've developed innovative projects centred upon Ireland's links with Europe. And I'm delighted that in the past year, we've partnered with the Royal Irish Academy to examine how the higher education sector and research community on the island of Ireland can maximise opportunities for funding and partnerships to the European Union's new Peace Plus programme. I welcome the outcome report released today following your roundtable discussions last month. And I will hear some of the discussion, although I have other duties to carry out this morning as well. I know that they're talking to Commissioner Maros Shevkovich. He's very keen that we build awareness of the Peace Plus programme. And indeed, I had some interaction last week with Commissioner Elisa Ferreira as well, and a member of her cabinet on this issue as well. So for more than a quarter of a century, the Peace and Interreg programmes have made an enormous contribution to cross-border cooperation, and they remain important drivers of cross-border regional development. More than that, the programmes have been a key element of the European Union's continuing commitment to the process of peace building and reconciliation and support for the Good Friday Agreement. Brexit has made it even more important that this work continue. I am pleased that the Irish government has been able to secure support for a special new Peace Plus programme that will build on and continue the work of the Peace and the Interreg programme. And the interesting thing about the Peace Plus programme is that it's the only item of funding from the European Union that the United Kingdom has committed to co-funding for the next few years. I think that's a very important point. And with all the discussions about relations with the UK, I think it's really worth reminding people that they're still on board with this. I mean, discussions are still continuing, but the commitment is absolutely there, and we'll finalise that hopefully in July. But they are still there on this. So it's an important signal from the Irish government, from the British government, and the European Union in relation to Northern Ireland. I think the more we can do to promote it, the better, particularly within communities in Northern Ireland. And that tripartite arrangement, I think, needs to be remarked upon more about this. So the programme is still being finalised, as I said. I think it's going well by all accounts. It's expected to be in the region of 1 billion from European Union, from Ireland, and from the United Kingdom. And the first project is expected to come on stream next year. So the programme is a hybrid of the previous cross-border EU funding strands of Peace and Interreg, and will support cross-border cooperation and peace and reconciliation in a single holistic programme. And I think in whatever projects are approved, whether it's academic projects, research projects, or whether it's community-based projects, we need to keep reminding people of the benefits of the cooperation north and south within Northern Ireland, and of course, east and west, positively overshadowed by our European Union membership here as well. So the development of the programme is very well advanced. That process has been led by an outside body called the Special EU Programmes Body. They work in close cooperation with the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform here and the Department of Finance in Northern Ireland. So the Special EU Programmes Body have just concluded an extensive public consultation exercise for Peace Plus. This included significant stakeholder engagement, and over 400 responses were received. And I think this is testament to the support for the programme from a wide range of stakeholders, not least higher education and research institutions. Peace Plus will have 6 high-level themes which will support shared peace and prosperity across a range of areas at a time when such support is needed more than ever. So these include building peace, peaceful and thriving communities, delivering economic regeneration and transformation, empowering and investing in our young people, healthy and inclusive communities, supporting a sustainable future, building and embedding partnerships and collaboration. So I know that when the research community look at the programme, they may focus on the Innovation Challenge Fund, which is indicatively €58 million. This is designed to support high-level commercially focused research and development within key growth sectors. It will support major innovation projects and will create lasting local and national economic and social benefits. The fund will enhance cross-border research and innovation capacities and the uptake of advanced technologies, resulting in increased productivity, higher export levels, and sustainable employment. This fund follows on from the very successful research and innovation theme of the current Interreg programme, which is funding 7 cross-border research projects involving partners from Ireland and Northern Ireland. So an excellent example is the BREATHE project, an €8 million project led by the Smooth Muscle Research Centre at Dundalk Institute of Technology in partnership with Queen's in Belfast and the University of the West of Scotland. The BREATHE project will harness complementary resources and the expertise of 10 principal investigators from 3 universities with a mission to tackle COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which, as we know, is an incurable lung disease, highly prevalent in the border regions of Ireland and Western Scotland. And I think we probably all know people who suffer from COPD. But I would say this, beyond the Innovation Challenge Fund, several of the themes I mentioned have a strong research focus. These include Theme 2, which is delivering economic regeneration and transformation. Also Theme 5, supporting a sustainable future. And Theme 6, building and embedding partnership. There's a number of interventions that would support applied research. I would urge you especially to consider Theme 6, which is 2 parts. One is focused on strategic North-South cooperation. For example, the development of joint strategies or joint feasibility studies, data collection. The second is a smaller grant scheme to foster North-South cooperation on a person-to-person level, which could be used to establish networks, for example. Higher education and research institutions, North and South, have a rich history of collaboration and have continued to sustain these through EU programs such as Horizon. The new Peace Plus program offers a further opportunity to reinforce these. So the special EU programs body is now, and I've engaged with myself, they're now engaging in refining and finalising the draft programme ahead of submission to the Irish government and to the executive in Northern Ireland and subsequently to the Commission. Peace Plus will have a major role in assisting the recovery and resilience of communities and enterprises in the context of the twin challenges of Brexit and the COVID pandemic. It will be an ambitious and impactful programme which will have an enduring legacy on the island of Ireland. But what I would say as well is, though, it is really important that the genuine cross-community, east-west nature of this programme, I think needs to be remarked upon as much as possible. So I think that BREATHE project, as an example, we're working collaboration north and south, east and west, and where benefits then accrue to citizens on the ground, and you saw from COPD, that we need to keep reminding people in both communities in Northern Ireland, this Peace Plus money or budget is not simply European Union and the Irish government, and therefore maybe applicable or interested to one community in Northern Ireland. I think we really have to keep emphasising how this brings communities together within Northern Ireland, north and south and east and west. I think that's the magic of the Peace Plus, in my opinion. It cannot be seen as the Irish government and European Union, doing good work with, and perhaps other people see particular agendas there. This is a genuine tripartite approach, and I think it's very, very welcome in the context of all that's going on at the moment. So we've come a very long way from the Good Friday Agreement 23 years ago. The work of peace is slow, uneven, frustrating, and societal reconciliation is a greater task again. But throughout the peace process, reconciliation, as I said, has been at the core of our approach to peace building in Northern Ireland. And the Reconciliation Fund has been key to that. Higher education institutions are important partners for that fund. And I'm glad to say we've increased the size of the Reconciliation Fund this year. This will support a new strategy, in particular recognition of the impact of Brexit and COVID-19 on work that we support. This week, we've also launched a new strategic partnerships program, which will allow, provide a commitment for multi-year funding that will allow partner organisations to be even more ambitious in their goals. So thank you again for inviting me to speak today. To thank the Academy for all your work on this important project and everything else that your members are involved in, which is so important in the public sphere. And we've seen so much public evidence of that in terms of the reaching out to the general public over the last year. I really think that needs to continue. We need to see more experts in the public sphere educating us all. And I've no doubt you will have interesting discussions, and I look forward to seeing some of these new initiatives and partnerships that higher education research sector will develop, I hope, under the Peace Plus programme. So, there.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those encouraging words. And you delivered some very important messages there, which I'm sure we have all taken on board. Thank you very much. Our second speaker is Paul Hannigan. Paul has been president of Letterkenny Institute of Technology since 1998. He graduated from UCD with a Bachelor of Commerce and a Master's of Business Studies degrees. He began work as a lecturer in Economics and Human Resource Management in Dundalk Institute of Technology. In 1992, he took on the position of head of the Department of Business Studies in Dundalk and remained there until his appointment to Letterkenny. Letterkenny will celebrate its 50th anniversary this year. And while it was originally established as the Dona O'Malley Regional Technical College, it has evolved to become a comprehensive third-level college. And I think we're aware that Letterkenny, together with Sligo Institute of Technology and Galway Mayo Institute of Technology, have just submitted a bid to become a technological university. So over to you, Paul. Muted, I think.
Sorry about that. Thanks very much, Jerry, and thanks very much for the invitation to be here this morning. Just listening to the Minister and listening to your own words in terms of my own introduction. I was born in Ballyshannon, County Donegal, went to college in Dublin, worked in Dundalk for 10 years, so I've been back in Letterkenny since 1998. So the border has played a major part in my life, all of my life. And, you know, I've been drawn to it in the context of how we deal with the issues on a cross-border basis, whether it be on a personal level or on a professional level over that time. And what people maybe think is that it should be the most intuitive thing in the world in terms of cross-border collaboration. It should be the easiest thing to do. And what is proven over the number of years is that it is really difficult. It needs the development of personal relationships. It needs the trust relationships to be built up between the various partners that are involved in it. And we actually need to develop all those relationships in order to make things work. I think those of us who've been involved in it over the years, and Jerry, we've worked on it over a period of time as well in the past, says the people like yourself and others keep coming back to it because it's the right thing to do. We might have disappointments at different stages in terms of our level of engagement and the outcomes that we're searching for, but we always go back because we always know that it's the right thing to do and the way forward. I think Brexit, which has been mentioned by the Minister, while there's very little positive to be said about it, I think one thing from our perspective is that Brexit inadvertently brought the focus back onto the border again. And I think that was really important from all our perspectives, so that it wasn't just seen to be an issue that was raised by people who lived here or worked here or whatever, that it became a real issue that needed to be dealt with. And from that perspective, it went back on the political agenda, and that opened up opportunities in terms of how we develop that work and move that work forward. So in the context of the Interreg programs that have gone before, the Minister made reference to one from Dundalk. We've been involved in 3 or 4 in terms of a Centre for Personalised Medicine, working with the University of Ulster and partners in Scotland. We've also been involved in the Bryden Centre around renewable energy with Queen's University, and the Centre for Advanced Manufacturing with other partners, including IT Sligo, part of our Technological University Consortium as well. And we're also working with the private sector and the community sector in those projects, and that's a real strength of what we're doing. From my perspective, looking at Interreg and looking at Peace Plus, the real benefits from this is if it can bring benefits to the people living and working in the regions themselves. And I think that's a really strong aspect of these programs and something we really need to build upon. People have to see whether the money is not coming to higher education institutions for the benefit of the higher education institution. Yes, there are benefits to be got from it. Yes, there are strengths to be developed from it, but the community needs to see the outcomes that make the difference. So from our perspective, one of the major projects we had funded previously was the development of an innovation centre on campus here with Catalyst Inc. and a relationship with their new centre, their innovation centre in Derry City. But now there are, over 100 people employed in that centre, developed out of small businesses growing in this region, people working on a cross-border basis. With the advent of Brexit now, we have people based in Derry, but with locations in Donegal to maintain their footprint in Europe. So those are really important initiatives that are rising out of funding that has been gone in the past. And when you look at the thematic areas that are identified in the new programme, it covers a broad range of activity that there's something there for everybody in terms of contributions that can be made. And one of the things that has developed very strongly out of this in the past and will continue in the future are the very positive relationships that I say are necessary to sustain this cross-border activity, whether it be institution to institution, university to university, or institute of technology, whether it be engagement with industry, whether it be engagement with community groups. That's really important. And in the Northwest here, we have the Northwest City Region Initiative driven by the 2 local authorities, which includes Letterkenny, Derry City and Strabane. And within that, we have a cross-border further and higher education cluster, which includes ourselves, Ulster University, Northwest Regional College and Donegal ETB. And that initiative has really driven the collaboration across all aspects of education, from schools right through to PhD development. And then we can see clearly what impact that has on industry within the region. And we currently have a smart industry board established arising from that initiative, chaired by industry and driven by industry. So I suppose what I'm here this morning is just to say, totally behind this project, can see the benefits that have come from its predecessors and want to see that continue through the Peace Plus programme, but to remain in people's minds at all stages that what we're doing here is trying to benefit the people who work and live within the regions, and that any benefits from this accrue to them. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Paul. And can I compliment you on the consistent support you have given for cross-border activities and also for an understanding of the difficulties that exist along border regions. So thank you very much for that. Our next speaker is Slavomir Tokarski. Slavomir is Director at the Directorate General for Regional and Urban Policy at the European Commission. This Commission department is responsible for EU policy on regions and cities. The department works with EU member countries, regions, and other stakeholders to assess needs, finance investments, and evaluate the results from a longer-term EU perspective. It is committed to a vision of a European Union where people in all regions and cities can realize their full potential. Slavomir.
Yes, hello, good morning, everybody. And let me start as my predecessors by thanking Irish Academy and the Commission representation for organizing today's session and for putting a bright spotlight on the Peace Plus program, of which we are very, very proud. Now, if I look back over the last 25 years, there has been significant progress towards peace and reconciliation on the island. And the European Union has provided an umbrella under which the partnership and cooperation between the island and UK could grow. And at the same time, the European Union also offered tools to put this partnership into practice in the form of a series of cross-border cooperation programs. The first peace program started in 1995, and since then more than 1.5 billion euro has been invested in peace-related actions by the EU. An additional 800 million euro has been invested through a series of traditional Interreg programs between Ireland and Northern Ireland, similar to those that we have on internal EU borders. And the key focus has been on cross-border initiatives to strengthen research and innovation, preserving and protecting the shared environment, promoting the sustainable mobility across the borders, and enhancing the provision of quality health and social care services. Now, despite this progress, divisions between communities are still very evident. And it's so because issues around the expression of identity often result in community tensions and increased polarization. And recent events we all have seen have put this into sharp focus. So this is why there is a strong support in all the EU institutions for the continuation of the peace program. The EU is convinced that it can continue playing its positive role in the long-term peace process. And it is so because European cross-border cooperation has proven to offer an effective and, most importantly, impartial framework for the peace-building investments. This framework is built on the principles of partnership and genuine bottom-up approach to cooperation and peace building. So community groups, religious organizations, socio-economic actors, government administration, elected representatives, and many others are encouraged to come together, gain trust, and develop new ways of working and finding solutions. I think in the past, the Peace Program has done it very successfully. The new Peace Plus program will continue on this path and will combine the former Peace and Interreg programs into a single integrated and ambitious program. Peace is a necessary precondition for sustained economic growth, but in turn, prosperity arising from a stable and rising economy can help foster and embed peace. Therefore, the Peace Plus program will also invest in creating these conditions by investing in economic regeneration and transformation on both sides of the border. And the program will also dovetail with the ambition of the European Green Deal in delivering the green and digital transitions. So Peace Plus will be an exciting and comprehensive program. There will be several investment areas and initiatives which may be of particular interest to the higher education and research sector, and where you may wish to get strong involved. And I think the Minister also mentioned of them. The public consultation on the draft outlines and investment areas of the program ended last week. And as we heard from the Minister, the response rate was high, which is a strong indication that many stakeholders have a strong desire to remain involved in the program and its implementation. And this bottom-up consultative approach is the best way to get broad support for the investments and to ensure that the program can be a success. And the report of your roundtable discussion of April gives me confidence that the higher education and research sector is equally convinced and committed to this approach. So I strongly believe that you will find ideas and opportunities to participate and contribute to the program. This could be done by helping SMEs increase their research and innovation potential, or by offering young people the knowledge and tools to contribute to innovation and economic development, or by providing solutions to address existing and emerging skills gaps, or finally, by offering expertise for innovative approaches to conflict resolution, including through social innovation. But key to the success of the program will be to keep the finger on the pulse and to build and maintain networks that can support your involvement in the implementation of the program and beyond that. We are at the end of the preparatory stage, and soon the program will be finalized for the assessment and approval by the Commission. I would like to thank you for your continued efforts to make the Peace Program a success, and I urge you to continue engaging with all the partners in Ireland and Northern Ireland, and to continue developing project proposals that can help fulfill the potential and ambition of the Peace Program. You can count on the full commitment and backing of the European Union in this. And this is not a slogan, but I would like to end up by expressing readiness of myself and my team to discuss and work with you on the best ideas. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Slavomir, for those very encouraging words and offer of help, which no doubt we will want to avail of. But we certainly do appreciate the commitment that you and your colleagues in the European Commission and the European Union overall have made to this program. Our next speaker is Sarah Jane Smith from Queen's University. Sarah Jane is the European and International Research Manager at Queen's. She provides advice and support on European and international research opportunities, works to develop the International Research Action Plan for the faculty, acts as the Northern Ireland contact point for arts, humanities, social sciences in Europe, and plays a key role in the development of strategic European and international partnerships. Sarah Jane.
Thank you very much, Chair, for the invite today, and thank you again, Minister Byrne, also for those great words of encouragement. I'm here just to say a few points on behalf of Queen's University. We are delighted that we were able to respond to the consultation there a couple of weeks ago around this wonderful opportunity, and not just about the money, as we said, about the community connections of the Peace Programme over the next 7 to 10 years. I think it's vital for the HE sector to also remember that it is over the next 7 to 10 years. So we do have time to prepare and build those partnerships and connections that we need in order to be able to support the programme. At Queen's, we're about to launch our new strategy 2030 this summer, which is our vision for the future. And one of those pillars focuses on research and innovation excellence. And we want to do this through also the higher international standing that addresses societal challenges and addresses challenges and changes all of the world for the better, but also through research culture, research-led education, and mostly to emphasize societal benefit from that. We will base this on people, research quality, partnerships and place, and we have identified 5 strategic research themes of which we will base this on. So areas such as the economy, secure intelligence, AI, health, human environment, inclusive society. So a lot which encompass what you would imagine the research themes of the university would need to be. But I do feel that all of these underpin the programme of Peace Plus itself very well. Just to make a couple of points from our perspective as well, to remember that the Peace Plus programme in itself is not just about peace. It is about peace and prosperity, and so there are many cross-cutting investment themes there that I think might get swallowed up a little bit sometimes in people looking at the title and believing it maybe to just be within one focused area. So it's not just about the peace and legacy. So of the 6 thematic areas that sort of have already been briefly mentioned, it would appear at the first instance that maybe theme 2, looking at delivering economic regeneration and transformation, would be the most appropriate. However, there are lots of other specific themes out with this. This theme itself, as you know, would look at cross-border collaboration research within the programme growth sectors, some of which I've already mentioned within our research theme areas. However, we did sort of feel a little bit that there was a lacking around the creative and cultural industry side of things there within the programme areas, which we would, like to maybe see some investment in that. And obviously the main fund that the Minister talked about around the Innovation Challenge Fund, you know, we are delighted to see that. And the STEM-based initiatives again come up very strongly there, but also initiatives for young people to gain access to research and innovation, which we do feel is very important. Again, the discussion around an all-island skills research hub is very, very welcomed, and there is an awful lot of engagement north-south already. Certainly around the universities, the higher education, pro-vice-chancellor research meet regularly across the island. So again, how does this all fit in with current conversations? But it's very welcome again that it's noted there. As I've mentioned, there are other investment areas across the whole programme which give access to research. Under theme 4, for example, health and inclusive societies, there are co-designed research programmes there, health trials. If we look at sustainable and better connected future, again, there's stuff around wastewater treatments and technologies. So there are a lot of other areas that we can look at within the programme. And to mention again, the programme itself does show that it's not just research opportunities. So there are educational support programmes there that the higher education institutes can come in under. Certainly under building peaceful and thriving communities, there are sections for programmes under educational capacity. We also welcome the thoughts and ideas around educational joint awards administered by cross-border partnerships as well at the university. I did note on reading it, different from previous programmes where there would have been support for postgraduate study. It's absent in this programme, but again, that was something that we actually welcomed the last time, but we do know that changes need to move forward in the different programmes. We do have targeted support within the different institutions, and certainly within Queen's, as an example that springs to mind is around the Senator George Mitchell Institute for Global Peace, Security and Justice, again, an interdisciplinary research hub that aims to make a difference to people's lives and the aftermath of conflict. But again, under other themes and other investment areas, there are other experience within research that again, we could work at. So if you look at, for example, the Centre for Shared Education and Queen's shared education programmes across the island, that is something again within the programme document that we could bring a lot of expertise to. Also examples around energy that's been mentioned before, and the All Island Drive around energy, certainly around geothermal. And the Northern Ireland Geothermal Working Group is looking at that at the minute in terms of geothermal energy demonstration. So again, the broad areas of research and investment are massive for higher education. And this all is underpinned by partnerships and collaboration. It's already been mentioned as well by the Minister that this really needs to be driven by strong partnerships. And again, theme 6 itself focuses on that, around building and embedding partnerships and collaboration as a core to all of the investment programmes. And this is something again in Queen's through our engaged research, promoting partnerships, collaboration, delivering high impact research that we believe is essential in strong delivery of elements of the programme. We at the university are really striving to be a civic university. And in doing so, engaging, which we do with the communities within central to our activities, the Belfast Agenda, which is the main city community delivery plan. So again, this is us looking towards our social charter and also looking at how do we engage more locally, and not through the detriment of being an international research university either. It's trying to deliver those impacts and results at a more local level. And in a meaningful way, a civic university, and so guess not just a nice to have title, but something that we really, really want to do that actually means something locally. Finally, a few points on how does it link with other research activity. I think that's very core, and it's also what Sladimir has mentioned there as well. Obviously, the Sustainable Development Goals are massively important research that we do and the impact at a community level. So that's great that they're very much embedded in the programme itself. And if you look at other European level policy and research and innovation programmes, such as the Horizon Europe programme, thanks to the UK Association now to Europe, we also have full access in the North to the Horizon Europe programme. So again, we want to look at how does this embed and work alongside that programme on research and innovation. And also from a regional point of view, so the Belfast Region City deal and Queen's and Ulster are very core to that programme, and there are 5 main innovation projects within that. Again, looking at advanced manufacturing and digital healthcare technologies, very much in alignment with the investment themes of the Peace programme. So it's really seeing how does that fit. And we'd mentioned previously about the Belfast-Dublin Economic Corridor and also that being moved more to the west of the island. So there is an around making sure that we're very, very connected within this programme and other areas of research. Very much in the minutiae, it's great to see discussions around sort of simplifying the process and simplifying project management, making cost transactions and eligibility that little bit more flexible. Queen's, in the last programme of Peace and Interreg, were engaged in about 25 projects, and one of them has been mentioned in the Breathe project. But there's massive area and room for improvement there as well as we move forward into the next 7 to 10 years. And I guess it's looking to see where we as higher education fit well within this programme and what we can bring to the table, how we can make sure that, as previously said, it's not just us gaining from the research, but it's an impact on the local community and on a very much cross-border level, and making sure the partnership development is there. So that's a few points I just wanted to make, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah Jane, for that very committed and very well thought through presentation. That's very impressive. Our final speaker is Duncan Morrow from Ulster University. Duncan is Professor in Politics within the University School of Criminology, Politics and Social Policy. His areas of interest include conflict and religion, ethnic conflict, and Northern Ireland politics. He is currently the Director of Community Engagement at Ulster University, developing relationships with groups and organisations across the community. Duncan.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Minister, and thank you to the European Commission today for inviting us today. Sarah Jane's already touched on a number of things, and the various speakers have already indicated just how important this issue is. Peace Plus, I think, is a very useful title because it does show us that this is something which is at the core of what the project, if you like, for this island has been over the last 25 years, peace, but it understands that that is more than simply a slogan or simply an emotional event, but it's an extremely practical task, which has already taken decades and it looks as if it will take decades more. The context, as we all know, of Brexit, which has brought borders back into our consciousness, and the need to find ways to practically address some of the challenges and to demonstrate the value of cross-border activity has probably never been stronger. And this programme offers huge opportunities both to address those big social questions, but also to demonstrate the practical dimensions of them and to build a sustainability in relationships across the border, which can very quickly get lost in the politics and the kind of more romantic approaches. I think the fact that this is emphasized as cross-border and cross-community means that it has two products: the products that come out of the individual projects, but also the habitual ways of working, which embed a different type of culture across the island. So this is an investment not only in the project, but in the future of this society and the societies on both sides of the border and east-west, as has been demonstrated to degree. It's not an HE programme, but it's a programme which illustrates just how important higher education and further education are to any broader social outcomes, and encourages both our institutions to be more collaborative, but also to demonstrate the impact and role that education has in bringing progress across not just social goals, but in the themes of the area. The potential areas for universities are huge. The educational programme very clearly brings forward innovations in education, co-design and the capacity of the university to help with the quality of design, innovation, research and development, all of which are, Sarah Jane has gone through in quite a lot of detail, just some of the various ways in which from STEM right across to social sciences, right across to the more professional development and business courses, that universities have huge resources which can be brought to bear, not only on individual programs which are university led, but as collaborative partners. Knowledge exchange, the really critical function of spreading and sharing knowledge, not only locally, but also internationally, and collaborating through the university's networks internationally to bring best practice to local impact. evaluation and learning, that within this program, evaluation and learning is critical if these are not just to be a series of disconnected projects, and the ability of universities to integrate the learning from these projects with learning from other areas is absolutely critical, quite apart from bringing the skill of independent and impartial evaluation to the table. Quality assurance in projects is absolutely critical. This is not just an exercise in distributing money. This is an exercise in actually ensuring that the money is well used. So the quality assurance in the universities and higher education and further education's role in assuring quality is absolutely critical. Planning and facilitation, it is critical that things are well thought through, well designed, well developed and facilitated. Again, universities and higher and further education have a critical capacity as shared institutions, as institutions with skills in business and design to contribute to that. And we've already heard about impartiality in a society where conflict has been a really deep experience, and in which institutions across the world are coming under threat. Universities provide the capacity to demonstrate that projects are impartial, that they have an international recognition, and that they can be shared, and the expertise is known. The themes of the programme demonstrate are all actually areas in which Ulster University and many universities across the island of Ireland are engaged. Thriving communities is a critical interest of Ulster University. We are represented in our physical location in 3, but we have to make a contribution to the whole region. And this region of Ulster, which also extends across the border, particularly for our Derry campus, is really important to us. So the actual nature of this and the geographical spread of this program is really matched as well. But we have a huge expectation in our communities that the universities will contribute to thriving communities. Economic regeneration, critically, is an obvious area where universities have huge capacity, both in business schools, but also in economics faculties and other parts of the social science range. The health and inclusion, we have a biomedical, a critical function in the biomedical sciences, but also in health and inclusion and in data, big data and the use of big data to illustrate health inequalities. Sustainability and connectivity, the School of the Built Environment in Ulster University is directly connected to transport planning, connected to the questions of engineering for sustainability. Partnership and collaboration is at the core of what we do. And young people are obviously our business for the best part of our work, but also through specific institutions in our own case, such as community youth work and development. But it highlights for me the changing role of higher education and further education. This is a really huge opportunity for us to be seen as a contributor to the mainstream policy development and practical change in communities. Community benefit is becoming a goal of higher education and further education, not simply research for its own sake, but also and teaching for its own sake, but because they bring a critical benefit to modern societies. So the impact of research and of teaching on the quality of life is a theme for universities, and this program integrates very well with that development. Learning and quality are also critical skills, tools, and outcomes for the entire society and community in which we live. This program again offers a huge opportunities to create practical outcomes out of the most international level research, and to ensure that it's shared at community level, but also that community learning is shared at international level. And I've already indicated in STEM, in health, in social sciences, in business, in community development, in professional development, in sustainable development, in strategic planning, and not least in my own area of peace and conflict studies, there are contributions which are very clearly linked into this program. So I suppose what I would like to suggest is that we don't need always to be the lead, but we can sometimes be the lead. We're critical elements of collaborative partnership, and we can learn and benefit from developing collaborative partnerships through this program, which can then impact on the culture in universities as we go forward. This is about relevance, this is about impact, all of which are core agendas for universities. This is about innovative education, This is about access and participation in universities in the widest possible sense. This is about using our shared space. This is about ensuring that the culture in the future of Ireland is outward and forward looking, not simply backward looking and inward looking. And it is about bringing a new culture of transparency and impartiality in a region which has been afflicted by conflict and which is still struggling with some of the political issues that are with us. All in all, this is a programme which I think holds huge possibilities, both directly and indirectly, for ensuring ongoing innovation, but in which the universities and further education can make a huge contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Duncan. That is a very impressive indication of the commitment of your university. And I know that there's no one more committed to community engagement at a personal level than you yourself. So I'm sure this program is very much dear to your heart as we go forward. So we've had these 4 very excellent presentations. There's an opportunity for some questions and answers. There's a query in from Paula Hannigan about which I think Duncan has touched on, and Sarah Jane also, the opportunities for smaller community organizations to get involved. And of course, this is all about communities and about improving their particular development and their confidence. And so I wonder whether Duncan or Sarah Jane might want to say something more about the involvement, because as Duncan mentioned, in some cases the universities might be the lead, but in other cases they will be partners or even junior partners in developments. The key point is that this program should encourage what the universities already want to do, which is to get more involved with their communities. So Duncan, do you want to kick off on that?
There certainly has to be opportunities for community organizations and groups to engage with this, and there probably are a number of entry points. The 2 that come to mind are through direct application, which probably works through different funding aspects of this, through local councils, for example, or through some of the local projects. But there are also critical team building exercises here in which consortia and different groups come together. And I think part of the next stage will be developing collaborations which demonstrate both the expertise, which comes from the wider collaboration, but also the really direct community impact. I think without that direct community impact, to be honest with you, many of these programs will appear to be too high level. So what is important in this project is that there's a range of different projects that are involved here. There's a range of different levels. They have to be strategically important and sign up to the strategic level, but it's critical that they also have local impact.
Thanks, Duncan. Sarah Jane, do you want to add to that?
No, Duncan's covered it extremely well there. As I say, each of the 11 local authorities will be developing local action plans as well, which will be part of their strategy to include smaller community-led organisations there too. And I believe most of them at the minute have peace managers in place as well. So that's always something to connect in with at this point also, maybe just while the programme is not yet released. But yeah, as Duncan said, the community impact is paramount and essential to any of this. So there will be massive opportunities there. Thank you.
There's another query about the dissemination of findings or outcomes that will emerge. Of course, the key outcomes should be tangible and on the ground, and people will be benefiting from them, and that's for all to see. But there's also the requirement to ensure that good practices are disseminated and spread across all parts of Northern Ireland and the border counties, but also indeed lessons are learned which can be disseminated internationally for other places which might benefit from some of the things that work particularly here. So any comments on that?
I think this is something where both we can think harder, but also we have a huge role as institutions. The platforms which university provide for dissemination of information are probably unparalleled. That includes international scientific dissemination, so that making sure that it's raised to the highest level of discovery. That includes policy networks, ensuring that people who have policy impact and who are connected into what is being found. But also, I think increasingly that we use innovative methods that includes direct dissemination, that includes social media, that includes the use of into teaching and so on. So I certainly think that this question of dissemination, in other words, making sure that learning isn't held narrowly, but it's broadly available to as many people as possible, is something that all of us in universities are very interested in as a topic. But this is actually a huge opportunity because it brings us into a series of different cultures, the policy culture, the scientific culture, but also the community-based culture, and even at local council level, local culture, which gives us opportunities to innovate and with partners to see different ways to ensure dissemination happens. But it's critical, it's absolutely crucial in a learning process that learning is shared.
Yeah. Sorry, Jerry, just to agree with that, Paul here.
Yes, Paul.
Maybe just to go back to the previous question in terms of, the engagement by community groups. I think it's been mentioned by Duncan and Sarah Jane, but the local authorities in the south would have very well developed systems in terms of engaging community groups, where they have local community development committees already set up. They have leader companies feeding into those. So all of that activity is already on, and people are very much aware of this particular call at the moment and would be gearing up for it already. So I think there's very strong community engagement and community awareness around this.
Thank you very much, Paul. There's a question from Maura Heaney about what are the key differences between Peace Plus and previous programs, in particular Interreg. My understanding is that this program combines what was the Peace program previously and Interreg, but do any of the panelists want to say a little more about that?
Well, I think you are right in a sense that the Peace Plus merges the two, and it builds first on the experience of peace and following on the objective we had in the past, and then integrated with the experience of the Interreg, which of course is in a certain way updated to the new policy choices that we made in the last years. But maybe still to link to the issue of smaller projects, which is interesting because this is one of the novelties of the programs we have in this financial perspective, and this is the recognition that very often small projects have a huge potential for people-to-people relations, including the reconciliation process. So we have two mechanisms. One is community-led local development, in which the community itself drafts a strategy for the territory and then decides themselves about which projects should be implementing the strategy. And secondly, we also have a notion of small projects and small projects funds, which is designed with the objective of particularly serving this type of small projects that might come from smaller actors. And maybe the last point, indeed, the dissemination of results. We are also very keen on learning lessons for other regions. We have a lot of events that are dedicated to exchange of best practices. We are publishing reports. For example, we'll be soon publishing a report on so-called B solutions, which is how different regions cope with obstacles to cross-border interactions and what the others can learn from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Slavomir. I think most people would agree that the combining of Interreg and the Peace program make huge sense, and that's good. There's also a query about, whilst of course the program is designed to benefit the 6 counties of Northern Ireland and the border counties of the Irish Republic, on the extent to which institutions who are not located in those areas can actually participate in some way in bringing benefits to those areas that are designed to benefit under this program.
Yes, I mean, as long as this project benefits the cross-border area, the actors, the stakeholders involved in the project can come from the outside of the program area. So this is also another novelty that we introduce in this period.
I think that's, sorry, Duncan.
Yes, I mean, from previous programs, we can give good examples of this where university institutions, for example, outside the benefit area were very important, in fact, in providing additional either scientific support or in a more direct way, for example, archive developments around victims and so on, where they were part of the historical collation and so on process. Those were all possible, but there's usually has to be a local partner and a clear local benefit. But that doesn't mean that the expertise is not located elsewhere. And this is something where universities actually play a really important role in taking it beyond the narrowness of the region.
Yes, we're going back to the points that were made earlier. I mean, we can't have universities or university campuses everywhere. So it's important to bring that expertise beyond where the campuses are, and therefore pooling that expertise for the benefit of Northern Ireland and the border counties is hugely important as part of the normal collaboration that should be existing and does exist anyway across the island of Ireland. There was another point about interaction with other programs, the extent to which funding from this particular program might be used in parallel or in conjunction with other funding sources to leverage synergistically greater benefits. Any thoughts on that from anyone?
I can mention, Chair, just in terms of the Rise in Europe programme, for example, we are just waiting it being finally signed off at the moment, and hopefully, Sadamir, it should be within the next couple of weeks that we'll see the final work programme. So at the minute, the way the Horizon Europe works obviously are different pillars, but within Pillar 2, you can see different clusters and destinations there, which are the main collaborative research programmes, and they do broadly fall within the same parameters and themes as the PEACE programme. So we could actually cross-reference quite a bit at the moment. We know what the next 2-year programmes will be under each of those themes for Horizon Europe, for example. And we do need to build collaborations and partnerships for those. Obviously, you need 3 member states as a minimum to apply for those. But again, we know certainly that the majority of previous collaboration bids submitted also tend to have Northern Ireland and Ireland both as partners, and we collaborate the most, all island. So there may be a way of maybe just looking and cross-referencing over that at the moment. They're both launching around about the same time, obviously maybe 6 months earlier for Horizon Europe. So there is a possibility of really trying to look at that and see how we can spin out those impacts and look at what we're doing within each of those themes based on maybe some of the larger projects in the PEACE programme. Can I add as well that expertise gained in some of these practical programmes like PEACE Plus or Interreg is before and the PEACE programmes before has been extremely useful in building the contribution which Irish and Northern Irish universities have brought to a variety of different programmes. So, for example, policing innovation and security, there were a lot of knowledge based on good community contacts and some of the challenges that have been faced around, for example, policing reform. Other examples, international efforts at aid and peace building, where tools and various new social ideas of how to interact and share information, for example. Also, Irish and Northern Irish universities have made contributions in those. And that extends then into all the other areas where actually having impact and having good networks and knowledge makes us good partners. So I would say there are direct and indirect ways in which these programs are extremely helpful. And particularly, I think, our ability to be close to the communities we exist in is actually of interest to partners outside of Ireland, because we bring something that not necessarily all institutions have developed to the same extent.
Thank you very much, Duncan. I don't know if there are any other comments that colleagues want to make. We've reached the end of our time. So really all that remains for me is to thank our speakers, Minister Thomas Byrne, Paul Hannigan, Slavomir Tokarski, Sarah Jane Smith, and Duncan Morrow for their excellent contributions and very encouraging contributions, which should be a signal to higher education institutions and individuals to become as involved as possible in this program at whatever level they can contribute from whatever perspectives they can contribute. It's also, as the Minister pointed out, an excellent example of joint working together between the European Union, the European Commission, the UK government, the Irish government, and the Northern Ireland Executive. And hopefully that is augurs well for further activities of that kind in the future. So without further ado, I encourage everyone to be as active as possible in making this program a great success for all our benefit. And I thank our speakers and everyone who's participated today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.